I think we got him through this term. Look what we did. We got Trump out. I am 100% going to say it, and I 100% believe it, that if it wasn't for CNN, I don't know that Trump would have got voted out. Our focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without saying it, that's what it was, right? So our next thing is going to be for climate change awareness.
Do you think it's going to be just like a lot of like fear, like climate?
Yeah, fear sells. Fear sells. No one ever says those things out loud, but it's obvious.
And what is it you do?
Technical director. It's one step down from director. It's going to be our focus. Our focus was to get Trump out of office. Without saying it, that's what it was. Trump his hand was shaking or whatever, that he was losing it. He's unfit. We were creating a story there. So that's I think that's propaganda.
So I'm standing here at 30 Hudson Yards. Warner Media is in right there. That's CNN's corporate headquarters. We're in New York City. Jim Sciutto just walked out. Funny enough, I asked him about the videos we have just obtained of a CNN director, Charlie Chester, on tape. For years, we've heard that CNN is the most trusted name in news, but a CNN director is on tape telling us that they're propaganda, helping a certain political candidate, employees admitting what we've always known to be true. This time, it's on tape.
Look what we did. We got Trump out. I am 100% going to say it, and I 100% believe it, that if it wasn't for CNN, I don't know that Trump would have got voted out. I really don't think so.
Oh, really? I think if COVID hadn't happened, it wouldn't have mattered what covered, and Trump would still be in office.
I believe. I came to CNN because I wanted to be a part of that.
So Chester says that CNN is responsible for getting Trump out of office and helping Biden through his term. Listen to this tape. Chester and Hoffman believe CNN managed to get Trump out of office, their words, and Chester calls CNN propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, like Trump, we did it. Like when Trump I don't know, like his hand was shaking or whatever like that. We brought in like so many medical people to like all tell a story that like it was all speculation. That he was like neurological damage, like that he was losing it. He's unfit to, whatever. We were creating a story there that we didn't know anything about. So that's I think that's propaganda. We had nothing else to run with at that time. We were like just taking shots off the bow, just hoping something would hit. So that's I think that's propaganda. We had nothing else to run with at that time. We were like just taking shots off the bow, just hoping something would hit.
I guess I have a confession. I worry about Biden and his health, I guess.
Your news health?
What? I said Biden, our president. Like I want to just like literally. I just want to like take care of him and make sure he's okay. Like
he's definitely the whole thing of him running during the entire run for the campaign, showing him jogging was obviously a deflection of his aid. And they're trying to make it like unhealthy.
Is that what we did? I don't know. Like, what do you mean?
We would always show shots of him jogging.
Yeah.
And that I'm healthy, blah blah blah, and him in aviator shades, and like you paint him as a young geriatric. I like so many arguments about like my dad be like, you're voting in Kamala Harris because he's gonna die in the presidency, and I'm like, that could die.
Right, I don't think he's gonna die.
But I'm okay with that.
Right.
I'm okay with that. I think she could
She'd probably be better, but
she probably could be a bitch in like a board meeting, and you'd hate her as a boss. But she's real and better than what we've had.
Right.
Regardless.
Yeah.
I don't see. I think we got him through this term.
It seems that CNN has resorted to other means in order to keep you watching. What you're about to see is so shocking. Admissions about COVID, its impact, the bias, and things that we've all suspected but have never been able to confirm until now.
It's fear. Like fear really drives numbers. It does, The happiest days in news, people, I would imagine, turn it off and then when they go with the family, they don't stay glued to it. You know? Unless there's something that's uniting them, like the moon landing or something like that. Fear is the thing that keeps you tuned in, I imagine. What's the scariest thing next? COVID, gangbusters with ratings. Gangbusters with ratings, right? Which is why we constantly have the death toll on the side. Let's make it higher. Like, why isn't it high enough, today? Like, it would make our point better if it was higher. It's fear. Like, fear really drives numbers. Fear is the thing that keeps you tuned in.
Why don't you guys at CNN show the recovery rates on the death tolls, at least?
Recovery rates. Who's had it and then recovered. Because that's not scary. I would imagine that's why they don't do it. Yeah.
That's what I figured.
If it bleeds, it leads. Yeah.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yep.
I like that.
I think no one ever says those things out loud, but it's obvious based on like the amount of stories that we do. Like the fact that we have a segment called The Good Stuff, which is a feel-good thing, but it's a dedicated moment at the end to like almost like be the ice cream to alleviate, like everything that you've been through, like something sweet to end it with. Because everything else is like doom and gloom. I mean, it's human nature. I mean, like I find myself watching more news when there's something looming and scary.
Chester also believes that in the current news cycle, there is, quote, COVID fatigue. Chester saying that CNN has a game plan to fix that fatigue.
I think there's just like a COVID fatigue. So like whenever a new story comes up, they're going to latch onto it. They've already announced inner office that once the public will be open to it, we're going to start focusing mainly on climate, like global warming, and like that's going to be our next like I don't know, like what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be our focus. Like our focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without saying it, that's what it was, right? So our next thing is going to be for climate change awareness.
So that's like the next
pandemic like story like that will beat to death. But that one's got longevity. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a definitive ending to the pandemic, or like it'll taper off to a point that it's not a problem anymore. Probably think it's going to take years, so they'll probably be able to milk that for quite a bit.
So climate change overload.
Be prepared, it's coming. Stories, like right now, we had an inside track right now where two stories are going to be pushed. Climate change is going to be the next COVID thing for CNN. We're gonna hone in.
Focus on that.
I love it.
But that's a fair thing.
You saw that coming forever. It's always evergreen.
But to commit to that as a network,
You said it's going to be like the new COVID.
I feel like that's the way it was built. Unless that was just a call to arms to get people to start writing, and then we'll assess it. I don't know, but
Do you think it's going to be just like a lot of like fear, like climate?
yeah, fear sells.
Jeff Zucker, I think you need to change your motto, the most trusted name in news. Your own employees, your own director is on tape actually telling the American people what we all believe to be true. The question is,
Our focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without saying it, that's what it was.
why isn't Charlie Chester willing to say the private part publicly? He'll say it privately, but he insists it's important to conceal it, to hide it from people. And that's the question, Mr. Zucker. Why is it so important to hide the truth of what you're really trying to do from the people?
I mean, There's no such thing as unbiased news. It just doesn't exist. There's too many agendas. There's too many people that have jobs that need to feed their families for it to be unbiased. You can't. It's impossible. Listen to the way they ask questions. Because they're not actually asking questions.
Who?
Any reporter on CNN.
Okay.
What they're actually doing is they're telling the person what to say. It's an art form in it.
What's it?
There's an art form to it. But it would be like the accident that you just saw, right? Like one of the reporters would be like, so that, that man clearly went through the intersection, slamming into this car or whatever it was, and it really is unfortunate that our infrastructure of traffic lights and whatnot is falling apart in the city. How do you feel about the traffic lights and the infrastructure and whatnot? We've led them to talk about how we want them to talk about it. It's always like leading them in a direction before they even open their mouth. And the only people that we let on the air, for the most part, are people that have a proven track record of taking the bait. I think that there's like an art to manipulation. I think some people have figured it out inherently, but
Like with the media, or just like in
media
general?
and in just conversations.
Yeah.
I think when you ever meet somebody that like you feel like you're being gaslit by, start to listen to how they word things,
What do you mean?
inflection, saying things like twice, like there's little subtleties to how to manipulate people.
What's the difference between doing that like on a one-on-one basis or like a widespread news organization?
Oh yeah, I mean it's enough to change the world. Yeah.
Isn't that the plan?
There's a plan. I think this time it worked with like the Trump thing, but look at the other side, how devastated they were. So were we the good guys, or the bad guys? Depends on which side you were looking at it, though.
News propaganda?
Oh no.
Okay, can you define propaganda? Like, I think I know, but like, how is it? What's the mechanism?
If the agenda, say, is to like get like Matt Gaetz right now, he's like this Republican, like he's a problem for the Democratic Party because he's so conservative, right? And he can cause a lot of hiccups in passing of laws and whatnot. So it would be great for the Democratic Party to get him out. So we're going to keep running those stories to keep hurting him and make it so that it can't be buried and like just settled outside of court and just like if we keep pushing that, it's helping us. That's propaganda. It's helping us in some way. Some research on like the Asian hate, like the people are getting attacked or whatever. A bunch of black men that have been attacking Asian. So I'm like, what are you doing? Like we're trying to like help like with the BLM and like we're gonna like. I mean, it's individuals. It's not a people, That's not good. The optics of that are not good.
I mean, but is it normal for the media to like? So say there's a white shooter, black shooter. Which one are we gonna? Like.
Yeah, for the longest while, like the story was like. People were like lapping up that it was like white guys for like so long. I haven't seen anything about focusing on the color of people's skin that aren't white. They just aren't saying anything. You know what I mean? They're just not. All of a sudden, that story loses a little steam and they just like leave it be.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's got to be trends, like what people will latch onto, you know?
You're telling your channel, you're telling me, you're just saying like how media is the greatest weapon. Where were you gonna go with that?
I mean, it's just propaganda. Like, it can really. Sorry, my chime just went off.
What do you mean by propaganda?
Like, you can shape an entire people's perception about anything on how you do it, right? Like,
How do you do that?
just by like forcing a story to help like your platform. You know?
We're outside this restaurant in Jersey City. We're about to confront Charlie Chester, CNN's technical director. CNN employee is inside the restaurant. We got him on camera. He's meeting with our undercover reporter. He expects that person to return to the table, but I'm going to be returning to the table in a minute. Let's go. Charlie, is this seat taken? I'm James O'Keefe with Project Veritas. You're on camera. You're recorded. You're a technical director at CNN. You're on camera talking about the importance of getting Trump out of office without saying that's what your intent is.
This was to get Trump out of office, right? Without it saying it, that's what it was, right? Look what we did. We got Trump out. I am 100% going to say it. And I 100% believe it.
You're on tape saying this.
Not interested in talking to you.
Well, we're investigative reporters doing a story. And I just want to ask you.
I've asked you now.
What
you're
you
close to you, within 6 feet of me. Without your mask on.
Go ahead.
You're in my personal space. I don't want you here.
Excuse me?
You're in my personal space.
I can stand 6 feet away from you and ask the same questions. That sounds like a good idea. So let me ask you this question. Why would you want to conceal from voters that CNN's intent was to help Biden?
You're not going to get me to talk about anything, so...
Well, you also said that it was, in your words, quote, propaganda. What was that about? You said you nonchalantly admit in your medical analysis of Trump that it was all speculation. And you used, these are your words, not mine. I'm quoting you here.
I'm not talking to you.
All right. Well, you've already spoken with us. You admit your network is helping certain candidates for political office, and you're admitting that you're wanting to hide it. Why hide it, Charlie? Why hide it? They never have the courage to say publicly what they will say privately. That's courage right there. That's courage. That was Charlie Chester, CNN's technical director. We're outside this restaurant in New Jersey. Charlie had nothing to say, certainly shocked. We had asked him about his comments. I focused specifically on this thing he said about trying to conceal it, quote, without saying that's what we were doing. He said the quiet part out loud.
No one ever says those things out loud, but it's obvious.
We got him on tape. He drove away. I put my flag mic up. The door jammed the mic, and then he drove away. Didn't want to say anything to us, but listen, I think this is going to get a reaction from CNN. Stay tuned.